You're listening to Level Up with Wondr, a podcast where we take listeners on a journey through the exciting world of gaming, tech, and innovation. Join the Wondr Nation team as we talk with a diverse group of pros who have taken their skills to the next level.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Level Up with Wondr. I'm Megan Nation, Vice President of Professional Services and Sales here at Wondr Nation. For today's episode, I'm very excited to welcome Emra Arkansas to the show. Emra Arkansas has nearly 20 years of experience in casino gaming with companies such as Caesars and most recently the Cherokee Tribal Gaming Commission. She holds a legal degree specializing in Indian law and is currently the executive director for the Cherokee Tribal Gaming Commission, working to uphold the integrity of Indian gaming on tribal lands. So with that, let's jump into it. I'm super excited to have you as a guest. If you could just start by telling our listeners about your journey and how your career began and evolved.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Wondr Nation. It's an honor to be here. I'm very happy to have this platform with you guys. Okay, so a little bit about me. I have almost 20 years in the gaming industry. I first cut my teeth as a table games dealer, and I would always see all these people that were in suits. And I was like, wow, how can I get there? That was always an aspiration. And little did I know that the people in suits were actually VIP. And that was something that I always wanted to do. And as I started to get into the industry and really understand it was more than just doing cards or counting money, it was about a development for my tribe. And it was something that we had the opportunity to help to expand where we were as a nation and where we were going.
Just to maybe dig a little bit deeper on helping your tribe, why did you decide to pursue a career in gaming?
Yeah, absolutely. So with IGRA, we have the opportunity to have Indian gaming, and that helps to have and boost the economic development for our tribe. And it wasn't until I started to get into the regulatory realm in my career with my degree that I was like, oh, wow, the gaming industry is booming. And I think that being able to be a part of that and to perpetuate what we have done for our tribe and to keep it going was what was most important to me. And I think with the regulatory and enforcement side, once I was able to acquire my degree, I wanted to see how I could help. How could I help my tribe? And that's where I was able to land into the Tribal Gaming Commission. I've been with the Gaming Commission now for almost 8 years. And it's heavy on the enforcement. It's heavy on the regulations and our controls. And that helps to prevent and mitigate any sort of tribal loss or protection of assets.
That actually segues really nicely. So you've moved through some different areas of the gaming industry, 8 years now with enforcement and regulatory space, the other 12 years in different areas. So what skills were you able to bring from your previous experiences into the regulatory space? I think it's always important to have that well-rounded view. So I'd love to hear how you brought that viewpoint to what you're currently doing.
So again, when I first came in, I was a table games dealer. So I got to see a lot of the operation behind the table. What were the elements of everyday controls and procedures and how to do that and to be able to have the proficiencies in the operation side. And then I moved to the VIP realm, which was and is heavily focused on player development, making sure that we have account acquisition, we're hosting VVIPs, and that's where a lot of your money will come in, the influx for your GGR. So when I say that I came from the operation and with a player relationship, I'm able to look at things multifaceted. I think a lot of times people in regulatory, and I'm not knocking it, but on its face, it's very black and white. But to be able to have that background and knowledge, I think helps with retention. It helps to be prepared. It helps to level up in the aspects of what is not perhaps black and white, but to be ready for the future.
And I think, like you said, it's a more holistic view of the player journey. And then having the regulatory aspects, it just really brings everything together. I think on the same token, and this is a credit to your experience, not everybody has the ability to shift into different aspects of gaming. So it's nice that you've leapt at those opportunities and made the most of your experience over the last 2 decades. With that, what are some of the most pivotal moments and some of the biggest lessons that you've learned along this kind of twisting and turning path that you've taken?
Goodness, I think you have to be flexible. I think that you have to be willing to pivot. You have to make sure that you can look at things with a large lens. Like I said, a lot of times I think with regulatory, you're only able to focus on black and white. So really challenging myself to, number one, not take it too personal when it said, hey, can you look at this a little bit deeper? It's compliance. It either fits or it doesn't, right? But to be able to step beyond that and look with a wider lens. And in essence, what are you trying to capture? And then what is the most simplistic form to enforce those controls so that our definitions both match so that we can meet the compliance piece of that?
No, that's fantastic. It's really that creativity and partnership that I think most people would be super grateful to have in a regulatory body. Did you have any challenges working your way to your current position? And if so, how were you able to overcome them?
I think my biggest challenge was making sure that I thought with a regulatory brain and not a casino brain, which now I think is a superpower of mine because I'm able to use both hats. But again, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to learn and willing to have those conversations. A lot of times I think people look at a challenge in that they're unable to see it with a different lens. And I think that sometimes can be one of the bigger challenges.
So, how do you balance innovation with the regulatory side of the business? Obviously, we're talking about having to have that flexibility lens, but what are the challenges that you're currently facing?
Right now, it is ensuring that we are meeting the germane as written. And I think for me in particular, our controls are a bit antiquated in the way that they were written. So right now, it's really making sure that we are able to understand what the definition is. What are we trying to make sure that we have at the end of the day? Number one, it's compliance. But number two, it's to make sure that we are staying relevant. My current challenge to my team when the operation asks, hey, is there a way that we can look at this control and is it something that we can do? In the old days, it was on its face, no. But now, in order to stay relevant in the face of competition, the answer is not no, it's how. One of the things that we're doing right now is to make sure that when we are looking at what the control does it, what is the definition? You know, we always say tomato, tomato. But if we both can say that this is what it is at the end of the day and it meets the compliance standards, then why can't we do it that way?
No, and I think that's such a unique lens to have on a partnership. And so, with that, do you think that there are any unique challenges that you're facing specific to tribal gaming? To almost zoom in on it a bit.
Yeah, one of the things that we're looking at in the world of an advanced technology with digital wallets is cashless. So right now, I think that the challenge is making sure that we look at what is the current process? How can we polish that in order to accommodate a cashless world? A lot of what we're looking at in terms of regulation, for example, verification, a jackpot verification process. As written, it says that there has to be 2 levels of verification. So when we look at that, can we use a digital signature and how do we capture that in order for it to be in compliance, but also, again, to remain relative and competitive? So we're really delving into how we can use kiosks. Each kiosk is unique. Each kiosk has a specific server identity associated with it. We're currently making sure that we can make that fit what the needs of the business are.
No, absolutely. And I think cashless kiosks, absolutely great examples. So Are there any other opportunities for innovation in the compliance and regulation space that you'd like to highlight, or maybe examples that you're working on?
Oh, I'm sure there are. One of the things that I like to use is my resources. I've been very fortunate to attend conferences and have opportunities to network. So
Mhm.
I always look, what is the latest and greatest that is happening in Indian country? And how can we integrate that over into Cherokee, North Carolina? The old cliche of don't reinvent the wheel. I always
Mhm.
want to make sure I utilize my resources so that I can capture those opportunities and then make them work for what we need here.
Absolutely. And that's actually how we met, right? Was through
Yes.
the tribal advisory board. And I think if you are constantly nurturing and feeding your network and asking questions, and that's why we're doing this, right? Is to really build off of each other and grow the industry. So, with that, how do you ensure that you're able to be innovative while making sure that you're within the rules and regulations?
I think we have to look at it in isolated events, right? We can't say that tomato is tomato for everything. We have to really narrow down what it is we want to do. I think that you have to have a workforce or almost a task force. You have to have a team. And it's really important to make sure that you have a diverse group on that team who can look at it with a different way of saying, okay, this is what we're looking at, but can we meet these definitions? Are we able to have this type of innovative way to a regular problem? So, again, I'll use the example of us using the kiosk as a verification layer. Of course, I think that it's important to also ensure that you have the proper audits to come behind. Of course, there's human error, there are computer errors. So as long as you have that type of checks and balance, then we've achieved what we needed to.
That's all really great insight. Very excited to move into our talent and development portion of our conversation.
Mhm.
I know that you're an incredible leader, you're an incredible mentor within the tribal gaming industry. So I would just love if you could take a moment to describe your own personal leadership style.
Just like I mentioned just a while ago, in terms of making sure that you have those teams, those task forces,
Mhm.
workforces, I'm a cheerleader. I like to think of myself as being able to identify talent, servant leadership. What can I get you to help me with in terms of using your unique talents and understanding what you're good at? I believe everybody is good at something, and it's just making sure that you pull that out and you polish that, and then we're
Mm.
able to have a team and we're able to accomplish great things. I love being able to identify that up and coming talent and really procure that in terms of let's foster it. Let's build
Yeah.
on it. Let's get there together.
Yeah. No, I think your excitement is palpable. I'm sure you have an incredible team that loves working with you.
I'm very lucky. I will say that I've been very fortunate to have the team that I have.
Absolutely. I think it's all about who we surround ourselves with and
Mhm.
who we're fortunate to work with. How has mentorship played a role in your career path?
I have been very lucky in that I was able to work with a lot of different people in different fields. When I was in the VIP department, I was able to work with a lady out of Vegas, Miss Buckley, and she was
Mhm.
just wonderful in terms of this is what I see you can do. This is how we can do it better. And I was able to work on it and have my own creative takeaway and then bring it back to her. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is better than what I even started with. So that type of cheerleading, that type of enforcement, and the ability to see somebody be proud of you. I was
Mhm.
very fortunate to have those types of people in my life. So I've always wanted to provide that type of leadership for the people that work with me.
No, that's fantastic. Great example. Again, it's palpable. What do you, at the core of you, what makes you most passionate about developing new talent?
Again, I think it's one of those things where everybody's good at something. A story that I have is with my director, Miss Smith. She's been in the industry 25 years. There were a few challenges that I saw and opportunities that I saw that I could really push her boundaries with in terms of, I think you're this type of material. I think that you
Mhm.
can make these things happen. So we sat down and we looked at where we could make the biggest changes and what was able to not only be developed, but be put into place. One of the opportunities that I saw was that she could achieve a higher education. And I told her, you are capable, you are able, and I would really like to see you advance your career in your education. That one helps to make sure that she stays fresh, but it also helps to make sure that with the natural succession, that I have a plan as well. Our specific gaming ordinance requires the executive director to have a higher level of education. So that really helped me to say, hey, I think you can do this. You need to get this education. And she did it. And she is getting ready to graduate in December. I couldn't be more happy and proud. So I really think it's making sure they have that cheerleading and the ability to be polished.
Absolutely. And I think if someone sees that within you and can support you, whether it's through mentorship, through employment, through just your network, to know that people see more of you, I think just unlock so much potential. So why do you think it's important for organizations to prioritize mentorship and identify young talent?
I just mentioned it, succession, right? Making sure that you have a strong bench, making sure that if there is a ripple in your organization, I always hope there isn't, but if there is, we are prepared. We have cross-trained. We have got the opportunity for exposure. We have sent them out into Indian country to look and research and almost recruit what it is, what can we do? So it's important for any organization to really understand who works for them and how can they help to perpetuate and ensure the succession for their organization.
Investing in the future, right?
You absolutely invest in your future.
So reflection and taking a moment to look ahead. Would love to hear what's the most rewarding part of your job. It sounds like there's quite a few. It sounds like you're surrounded and you're really building up talent around you, but would love to hear anything else that's really rewarding.
My grandpa used to always say, if you want to go fast, then you need to go alone. But if you want to go far, then you need to go together. And that's something that I feel is really important in making sure that we do capture that, and that when they are able to meet that goal or they are able to get to that milestone, that you're celebrating together. It's important to just make sure that you've captured that and that you're celebrating. And again, we're making sure that we have the continuation of our organization in continuity. I think that's the important part that I want to drive home there is the continuity. If you're forever changing your bench and you're forever changing your people, you get no continuity.
Right. No, it's that longevity. What has been your proudest moment thus far in your current role? We've gone over quite a few, developing talent and things like that. Is there anything that really sticks out as just a shining moment where you sit back and think, I did that, my team did that? It'd be great to hear.
Yes, in terms of looking at this verification process, my team worked really hard in making sure that we were able to meet the needs of the business, but also you have to be in compliance. That's the goal, right? We were actually able to do a beta and start the launch. And there were elements that my team, sans me, were able to say, hey, we looked at this and we were prepared for this because there were some hiccups, but they really were able to take into consideration 2 levels of impact. My proud moment was they said, you were in our head. You weren't even down here when we started to launch this, but we had already thought about what if this happens, then they had a plan. And what if that happens, then we have a plan. We were able to keep going without it having any sort of hiccup or any sort of glitch in the front facing. And we were able to patch it quickly, and we were able to have these emergency controls in the event that this happened. But just to see that excitement, that for me has been really rewarding. That had felt like all the hard work was paying off.
And that's true servant leadership. When your proudest moment is actually when your team went off and spread their wings. So
Yes.
I think that's just a testament of who you are as a leader. So another really important question. What's the legacy you hope to leave behind in your current role and in gaming in general?
As an Indigenous woman, it is very important for me to have a 7-generation plan. It's important that the opportunities that have been afforded to me are also felt 7 generations after me. In that regard, it's important to make sure that we are able to have that, even a paper plan, even to say, if that, then this. But the legacy part is also to ensure that we have a front-facing, innovative administration. I really push for education. I want us to be one of the best practices in Indian country in terms of how do they do it in Cherokee? We know Emra, let's call that team. And we're already starting to experience that with licensing and also with other opportunities for Class 2. I'm really starting to see the fruits of labor that's been put forth by this administration.
Incredible. So last question for you today. What advice do you have for young professionals just starting out in the industry?
I think it's really important to understand what you want to achieve in terms of your career. How can you do that? What is the biggest impact that you can make or the biggest footprint? It's important that you know what you're good at. Like I've said this whole time, I think that everybody is good at something, and really hone in and capture what makes you feel most passionate, what makes you feel like you have place and purpose in anything that you do, not just with your career, but with who you are and how you grow as a person.
I love that. That was such an enjoyable conversation. It's just a pleasure to always speak to you. It's a pleasure to be able to call you a friend and a fellow leader in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your words and just giving us a window into your leadership and all that you do for the industry.
Thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Level Up with Wondr. Visit wondernation.com/level up for more podcast episodes about how we're reimagining the gaming entertainment industry. Want to level up your business? Visit our contact page at wondernation.com to inquire about our strategic consulting or management services.